this video will just be the 3 examples left in 3.3. If you want, you can try them on your own and then just check my answers, but there'll be a lot of me telling you to pause and try things on your own. So our first example here, we're looking at a linear model to predict the price of a particular car from its mileage, calculated from a sample of 38 cars. The resulting regression equation and correlation coefficient were, oh, that's a typo. The resulting regression equation is this thing. So I'm usually pretty lazy and just glance straight to this. Like I said, I will give you your actual regression line. And our first question asks us to interpret the slope. So remember our slope. You can go straight back to the other page. That negative 0.0151 is our slope, right? And we're looking at change in y over change in x. So I'm going to let you guys have an opportunity to pause the video now and figure out which answer choice you believe is correct. Okay, so for this one, we can immediately get rid of A because it has the y-intercept in there as the value instead of the slope. And then we can see the difference between B and C, another easy one. We have increase or decrease. Since we have a negative slope, increase is out. And then we get down to the 2 questions that students usually get down to. These are both correct, except for they have different x and y's, right? They swapped what our x and y variables are. And unfortunately, we don't know which is x and y from the regression line, but there is a keyword here to help us out. The fact that it tells us to predict the price tells us that we are trying to predict that, which is our y, and that means mileage is our x. So we need to say for every 1 increase, right? These go together, for every 1 increase in x. So for every 1 increase in mileage, our answer is C. And then we move on, and we can do part B. Again, I urge you, pause the video, try it on your own, and then come back. Okay, so we're being asked for a residual, which is that little e. We know our formula. As soon as we see that is y minus y hat, our truth minus our prediction. And we can translate the rest of what was being given to us. We have a price of a car, and we had the number of miles for a car. And since we did that good work up in part A, we know that the mileage is our x. This is our observation for a particular car, and the price is our y. Now, we don't have y hat, right? That's the one missing piece for this formula. What the heck is that? Well, this is a 2-step question. Step 1, we can figure out what the heck y hat is. If you recall, finding y hat is just about plugging in our x to the regression line, right? In fact, this should have a hat on it in that regression line. We have this y, but we don't need it. We're going to use the line to predict our price when the mileage is 50,000. So we'll take this, our intercept, and subtract off 0.0151 times that x. And we'll figure out what our y hat is. And we get our y hat. So we would have thought the car would cost $23,601.15. Now, don't get excited here. I have a lot of students who will box this up and think they're done and forget that the whole point of this was for us to be able to do the second step to find the residual, which was the question we were asked. And we know our E is the true value, which was that 24,000, minus our prediction, which is $398.85. That's how far off we were. Okay, so let's keep going. The rest of our examples are very similar. So now we are trying to investigate the relationship between a total team salary in the NFL and the number of wins. So hopefully the more you spend, the more you win. And again, we've been given the actual regression line. First question asks us to give the 1-sentence interpretation of slope. So again, I want you to pause the video, try this out. This is 100% going to be on the exam. welcome back. All right, our one sentence interpretation. We need to say for every, or for each. I always use every. I don't know why I haven't changed the actual interpretation. But for every one, now we need our units. So our X is in millions of dollars, right? So for every $1 million increase in total team salary, so all I input here was the units for my X and then what my X variable was. Now we need our Y variable, the number of wins. And if you want it to be very good, you would write out of 16 season games, but I don't care. I want to write less. And this demonstrates that I know what the heck I'm talking about. The number of wins. Next, we have to decide if it increases or decreases. We have a positive slope, so we're going to say increases by 0.062, right? Our actual slope. And then we need our units of Y, which is, oh, there really aren't any wins, I guess. So on these ones where it's a count, it does seem silly to put a unit there. I like to do it even though it's repetitive because it keeps me from forgetting units. And I'm a stickler. If you don't have units, I will 100% dock you. In fact, on Tuesday, we're going to be working on some worksheets. And the most common way I take points off on those worksheets is students just not giving me units. All right, so last question. Again, I want you guys to just take a moment, pause, read through the video, read through the question, and try to answer it on your own. So this is one where I really hope you pause because this is the first time we've seen this. And if you could do it without my help, you're a badass and you're going to do great on the test. But either way, let's keep going. So here we have a team spent $60 million on salaries. So they just gave us a total team salary, which is our X, right? There is no reason to put a crap ton of zeros after this 60 because our salary is in millions of dollars. So this is actually the correct units. We just want to drop down the 60. It says if the residual was calculated to be, okay, so they just gave us our residual, which is our little e, negative 1.503. What is the true number of games won? So number of games won is y, and we want the true one, so this is actual y, not our y hat. So these are the two pieces we were given. That's what we want to find. Now this is similar to the previous example in that it's a two-step process. As soon as I see a residual given, I like to write down my residual formula. Right? This is always going to be our step 2. Because I know my residual, my E. I know I'm looking for y. If only, just like the previous example, if only I had a y hat, I would be able to do this problem, right? But oh, right, I know how to get y hat. To find y hat, all I have to do is plug x into the regression line. So 1.783 plus 0.062 times that 60. I just need to type that into my calculator and see what the heck our predicted value is. And according to my calculator, I would have predicted this team to have won 5.503 of their regular season games, which seems like a very sad return on investment for $60 million. But now I have this, and I can pop it in over here, 5.503. And this is the hardest algebra we will do in this class. So for those of you who came in going like, I'm not great at math, math is not my strong suit, this is it. We need to solve for y. So if we're subtracting 5.03, we'll need to add 5.503 to both sides, telling us that our y is equal to 4. And again, we need some units. This 4, this is the true number of games won. This is wins or games won, whatever you want to write down, but give me some sort of units to tell me what the heck you just found out. All right, this is making it long, but I'm going to do the last example so that we can finish it all up in one video. So we have one more exercise. Now we're looking at a triathlon, and we're looking at overall finishing time versus the person's swim time. We have 10 athletes from 2004. Okay, and we have our regression lines. We've been given all this information. Very obvious which variable is our y and which is our x, not only from the scatter plot, but we're also told here in the regression equation itself. So I want you guys to go ahead, pause the video, and try out both A and B, and then I'll come back and do both. All right, so first A has us interpret our slope. We know immediately our slope is the thing multiplying by x, so we should be able to get rid of A and C. And the only difference between B and D is, again, which variable is my x and which one's my y. We know x goes with the 1, right? Because 1.56 over 1 is my change in y over my change in x. So a change in x is swim time, which means B has to be the right answer. And then we move down to part B of this, and it says, an athlete completed the swim in 34 minutes. We just found someone's x, right? Because swim time was our x. We want to find their actual finish time, which is our y, if the residual is 11. So again, this is exactly the same as the question we did before with the team winning. Still going to be 2 steps here. Step 1, we need to find y hat. Because step 2, we're going to use that residual formula to figure out what the heck y is. We already know 11 is equal to y minus some value. We just need to figure out what the heck that value is. So our y is 122 plus 1.56 times that x of 34. Which is 175.04 minutes. And we can go ahead and pop that in to our residual formula. And again, we do that hardest bit of algebra. We've got to isolate our y, and we will add that 175 to both sides, telling us that our y is equal to 186 minutes and 0.04. Boom. Done. And then I always like to ask the question, did we overpredict or underpredict for this particular runner or triathlete? And we can see here we had the actual finish time was longer than the predicted finish time. So we, I guess, underpredicted for this particular athlete in terms of their finish time. So if I use this to figure out when I need to be at the finish line to see my friend finish, I would have been standing at the finish line hoping and waiting around for 11 minutes before I actually saw him, which is a better way to be Roth than if I had thought he was going to finish later and missed his finish entirely. I'd rather wait than miss it entirely. So just kind of throwing out this idea of types of errors that we could make, and also what this residual of 11 means is that we are actually under by 11 minutes. So I'm sitting around waiting for 11 minutes, not I come 11 minutes after he finished.